What's up everyone? I have a 5 Poodle victory for you today, and Poodle is definitely not a unit that is suitable for 5 of a kinds. It's tier 5 first of all, so the earliest you can find it is on turn 7, which actually in Puppy Pack isn't too bad because most of the good scalers are tier 5 and 6 anyway. But it also has very bad starting stats. It starts out as a 2-2, which there are some tier 1 units that have a better stat line than that. And as well as that, the ability, while it's usually very good, it scales your entire team usually if you build your team properly, but for 5 of a kind Poodle it's going to only scale 1 unit for +1/+1 every turn, which it's actually horrible. It's very bad scaling. It's like a monkey but worse. So yeah, you're not just going to get it done with exclusively Poodle scaling. I almost called it Puppy. I usually make that mistake when naming the doggies, but yeah, you're going to need some hybrid scaling to make it work. So your options are usually Seal, which I would love to use honestly if the game presents to me. You also have the T-Rex, which is very nice. I think the run that was supposed to go up yesterday, the 5 hatching chicks, that was done using the how do you call it, the T-Rex scaling. And then you also have some like other methods of scaling that you could use before you find those 2 units. Like you can see here, I have a Bluebird. I also have a hatching chick that I hope to level to level 2 so that it gives some permanent stats. Tropical fish is also a nice option that you can go for. So yeah, there's some options, but early game scaling really isn't all that much, so you need to to do as much as you can to find what you need late game. For now I'm just trying to play the game normally. Well, that's not really true actually. I was going for a 50-50 shop. I don't really have the method worked out, so I'm just buying hedgehogs, I'm buying some bluebirds and hatching chicks to get some scaling going. I don't think that's how you're supposed to do it, but that's what I did, and thankfully it ended with a good run. So yeah, I'm very happy with this setup that I have going. It's securing a lot of draws. And now for turn 7 level ups, which are usually not very important. I'd rather level on turn 9 than turn 7, but this time I had so many level ups prepared that I decided to go on turn 7. And that resulted in me getting 2 Poodles, which is very nice because I unintentionally built my team in such a way that the Poodle is going to buff absolutely everything. The Bluebird is tier 1, the Hedgehog is tier 2, the Hatching Chick is tier 3, and the Poodle is tier 5, so both of the Poodles are getting to buff 4 units at a time. And this is the strength of the Poodle that made this build actually work. It makes your team so strong that winning isn't really an issue. I'm going to struggle a little bit to win while the Poodles get started. You can see I'm losing here just because I'm just beginning to scale. But very quickly I think I'm going to level up one of the Poodles to level 2. It's going to increase my scaling that much more, so it's going to be very difficult for my opponents to catch up. I guess I'm not going to do that this turn, but you can see even the both of the Poodles are getting to quite nice stats. 17-14 and 9-6 respectively, which I think is very good if you consider that they started out as 2-2s. What is it, like 3 turns ago? I'm getting to level up the Poodle right here. Probably not advisable actually, just because you're not going to get much mileage out of this upgrade. Like I'm only scaling one of the Poodles, and I only will be scaling one of the Poodles just because the scaling conditions aren't going to change. So maybe a wiser idea would have been to preserve the chocolates for an upcoming T-Rex, but you can see that what is going to happen. I'm going to find the chocolate. This time I'm going to abstain from leveling up the the poodle, but immediately on the next roll I find another chocolate and a T-Rex. Sadly, I don't think I'm going to have enough gold to level the T-Rex to level 2 as well as that gain the buff. But what can you do? I'm going to have to wait for a turn, which isn't really an issue. And the T-Rex is actually the tier 6 unit, which means that the Poodles are going to continue scaling the entire team with their abilities. So yeah, this is one of the rare cases where the T-Rex is actually going to be a strong unit as well as the rest of the team, which doesn't really happen often just because the T-Rex doesn't get to buff itself anymore. I think it was nerfed in the past to not do that. Here I'm going to include the third Poodle, as well as that I think I'm going to level up the T-Rex to level 2 this turn. I have just the right amount of gold to even give the front Poodle a stake. And you can see how much the buffs decreased just because I sold the hedgehog. Now I'm no longer getting a full team buff. But it's still very good, and I was going to say I keep winning, but I draw here, which is actually pretty nice because it means that I get one more turn of T-Rex scaling eventually. So my plan is to get up the T-Rex up to level 3 as soon as possible. It's going to be luck dependent, of course, if I find a chocolate or another T-Rex. Spoilers, I actually don't think it happens, and the T-Rex is left at level 2.66, which is very sad, but when I keep winning like this I can't really complain much. So yeah, you have this very weird team where all of the Poodles buff the T-Rex, but they only buff one other Poodle at a time, so it's kind of bad. It's bad for everyone but the T-Rex, which is kind of sad because the T-Rex is going to go eventually. And you can see the T-Rex is already a 30 attack unit, which I think makes it the second largest unit on the team, funnily enough. And sadly I keep losing here, but it means that I keep getting to scale, so I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I like to think that it's a good thing just because I'm a little bit of an optimist when it comes to these runs. But honestly it might not be such a good thing just because more of the teams that I'm going to face are going to have units like the bat, like the skunk, like this opponent had. Thankfully I outstat him heavily, so I managed to win regardless, but yeah, if you manage to prolong the game for as long as possible, that means you're going to face a lot of good statted teams, but they will have units that actually have useful abilities unlike your team, so it's kind of a double-edged sword if you want to keep prolonging the battle or not. But yeah, I don't really have to think much about that just because the game plays itself at this point. I was kind of hesitant if I want to level one of the Poodles to level 2. I decide to do that just because if the game drags on a little bit I'm going to get more buffs from that. Thankfully I think I was right on that call just because the game isn't going to end so soon. You can see I'm losing here and I have 2 more wins to go, so that's at least 2 more rounds of scaling from the Poodle. I'm buying pizzas here, maybe I should be rolling for the chocolate, but I don't really want to waste gold rolling and not to get results guaranteed, so I just stick with the pizza. Maybe I should even give the T-Rex some equipment just so it can be extra useful in battle, but I don't really want to waste my gold on that as well. Thankfully I win here, so that means the last Poodle is going to enter the team, the T-Rex is going to leave. Extra points for me selling an almost 50-50 unit. and I have just the right amount of gold for me to buy the pizza and the steak. So yeah, this is going to be the final build, but I don't think it's going to be quite over, just because you'll see in a second what happens. Kind of unfortunate that most of the poodles buffed the 50-50. But you can see I barely scrape a draw here, so I was kind of scared with the upcoming round that I was not going to be strong enough. But yeah, this ended up winning, and this is going to be the final round of the game. So if you enjoyed, like, sub, do all the generic stuff, leave a nice comment, enjoy this final round, which was relatively close, and I'll see you next time, take care.